Hi, and welcome to Micronaut Monday. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics. I Am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee. And coming soon from Image Comics, Jack Kirby's Star Warriors, starring Adam Starr and the Solar Legion. All three of these books are available for pre-order by following the pre-order links in the show notes below. It's issue 6 of the Micronauts. This cover feels like a little bit of a retread of issue 3's cover. I do like the Kirby crackle around Bug's attack here. And Accroyer's destruction of that siren feels like another one of those pieces where, the source material was well researched by Michael Golden before he drew it. And, a dynamic shot of Princess Mary, also known as Marionette. The Great Escapes. We're starting out with a lot of action. The chase is on Philip Prometheus's Terminator army a couple of years before Terminator comes out. They're chasing the Micronauts and Steve Coffin and his dog Muffin. And we have Accroyer looking brave even in retreat. Bugs squaring off. Microtron is firing while he dashes away. There's Arcturus Ran, and Mary is riding astride Muffin. And we get a little flashback to the previous issue. I like whenever there's these color holds. Adds a little extra oomph. Michael Golden is really going to town, rendering these tears and, putting a lot of energy into the hair. It's, just really fun drawing. And, the action goes on. Microtron short circuits the emergency doors. Bug blasts one of the Terminators in the face and rides the recoil. There's this interesting screen door pattern in the background. The chase continues. And then we cut back to Biotron in the garage at the Coffin residence. And now he's being stalked by Steve Coffin's cat. And then we're back to Hell, Hell, the Human Engineering Life Laboratories. They're trying to figure out what to do next. We have an ad for what was a current toy from the Micronauts line when this was coming up, because Micronauts were a couple years old by the time this comic came out. So you're not seeing an ad for the toys that Space Glider and the various and Accroyer and the various toys that the characters are based on, with varying degrees of fidelity to the original toy. What you're seeing is an ad for, what was, a newer release. The Trons, the Micronaut robot clowns that make you laugh. And I don't think they ever, work their way into the series. And so the Human Life Laboratories are being evacuated. Really nice crowd scene here. There's a military jeep pulling up. They get to the car, and Steve, too young to drive, but, still the biggest person in this group. So he's driving the truck. The chase is on. The Astro Station is pulling up the rear. That's got Accroyer and Bug in it. It makes this crash landing in the back of the pickup truck as it's pulling away. It smashes through the gate. And now they're out and safe. And Steve is mourning the loss of his father, Ray Coffin, who fell into the Prometheus pit with Philip Prometheus in the previous issue, left for dead. But here they are falling, and again, another cool color hold. And as they fall down this Prometheus pit, they continue to shrink and shrink into and fall into the microverse. Philip Prometheus and Ray Coffin seem like they have a little bit of a detente as they're both sort of facing their own oblivion. Ray Coffin disappears and is now at another part of microspace, and there's this little light that gets closer and closer and closer, and it's revealed to be Time Traveler, the enigmatic, mysterious character that we've seen pop up at various times in previous issues. And Philip Prometheus is falling closer to Homeworld. Even though they've shrunk down to micro size, they're still giants compared to the compared to the Micronauts. And their fall kind of reminds me of the first story in the first issue of Weird Science, the EC comic back in the 50s. It's a really tremendous story, and it's about this guy who just keeps shrinking and sort of falling into like smaller and smaller micro dimensions. When he arrives at these dimensions, he's a giant, and then before long he shrinks down to nothing, and then finds his way to another like world within a world where he's a giant again, and then shrinks. So I feel like it's playing off of that concept, and it's sort of like when Earthlings cross the space wall into the microverse, they shrink, but they don't shrink all the way, so they're giants to the Micronauts. And when the Micronauts come to cross the space wall and come to Earth, they grow, and they're no longer microscopic, but they're still much smaller than a human being. So like the scale kind of ends up being consistent in both worlds. We get this like really amazing shot of Baron Karza in his centaur form, with this cool like stained glass window in the background, trying to make out if there's anything in the pattern. Michael Golden has been putting these sort of like secret messages in the background, and they give a little, decoder at the back of this issue in the letters column if you want to find out what those say. I assume there's some Micronaut super fan who has annotated every one of these. And so he arrives at the Temple of the Shadow Priests, has like a little meeting with them. So we're sort of touching on a whole bunch of plot threads, and this issue is very heavy in sort of like the Homeworld space opera stuff, which I like a lot. And I think the creative team does a really great job of balancing those two things, of sort of this idea of these mini space cadets, these mini kind of like Star Wars characters, toy-sized Star Wars characters in a world of giant humans. They sort of do a nice job of balancing that with this sort of like more, full-on space opera. Allows them to have these sort of flights of fancy, but keep it grounded. I like the world building of the microverse and of Homeworld. And so we get this really nice L-shaped or upside-down L-shaped panel of Baron Karza's forces taking off from Homeworld to have an encounter with this giant that's orbiting the planet, this giant figure of Philip Prometheus. Michael Golden is sort of drawing the hell out of these toys. Prince Argon is wasting away in his cell in Baron Karza's prison, and then Slug, the rebel leader, burns a hole through his cell wall, and we see him in his centaur form. Unlike Baron Karza, he can't change back and forth between his centaur form and his two-legged form. But Slug has this weapon, this disruptor, that allows them to, break out of the prison, and she rides on his back. Being a centaur in one of these stories is, the other characters, you can kind of give them a ride on your back. So they ride out of there. Again, really nice compositions here. This stuff's not easy to draw and have it be legible and credible and fun to look at. And we go from, this, really out there sci-fi stuff to suburban in the late 1970s. So they're back at the house. There's Biotron, and they're back at the house just in time for Muffin to bark at the cat and make it run away and leave Biotron alone. And so now the whole team is reunited. Steve helps them. He plugs the Endeavor into the household electricity so the spaceship can charge back up, but it blacks out the neighborhood again. The ship's charged up, it's flying off, and Steve is being chased because there's an all points alert out for this red Chevy pickup truck. And so the chase is on. The Micronauts aboard the Endeavor are, trying to help Steve get away. But the proverbial bug on the windshield. Bug gets on the windshield, but this time smashes it to pieces. Croyer does the thing that Superman does in Dark Knight Strikes Again. He kind of just throws his body, his invulnerable body through the car, through the front and back windshield, and just smashing everything. Princess Mary is firing away. A lot of action this issue. Get Spider-Man in one of those Hostess Twinkie ads. The all-new Fantastic Four is here. The boldest, most exciting animated action series is the smash hit of the season, co-produced by Marvel. It's made Saturday mornings on NBC, the place to be. Nuff said. All new Herbie the Robot. And we have one last page. We get this really nice shot of the cyborg Philip Prometheus floating in orbit around Homeworld, and the Micronaut ships, the Baron Karza's fleet of ships surrounds him. Baron Karza sees a bit of himself in Philip Prometheus and recognizes him. The mind probes I've sent out reveal that this one met and fought the Micronauts and was driven mad by his encounter with them. Yet I sense an evil in him not very different from my own, evil which I can make use of. So, really great note to end this issue on. But first, the Macabre Man-Thing on sale April 10th. So next issue is the first crossover issue, the Micronauts crossover with Man-Thing, bringing them more firmly into the Marvel universe. And again, the progression continues. Each issue so far has been better than the previous one. By this point, I assume you're all in. Like if you're not digging this series by this issue, then I don't know what to say. But I can tell you it gets even better as it goes on. So stick around for that next issue. And yeah, like I said, they have this decoder to decode this writing, that the Homeworld language that Michael Golden has put together. At some point, I'll do an episode about the letters columns, because the letters columns are pretty interesting. And we have a letter from young Kurt Busiek giving mostly thumbs up, rating the various elements of the story on a scale of nifty or no-no. And as he says, the nifties outnumber the no-nos by far. You can sure be proud of yourselves. Kurt Busiek. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics. I Am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee. And coming soon from Image Comics, Jack Kirby's Star Warriors, starring Adam Starr and the Solar Legion. All three of those books are available for pre-order by following the pre-order links in the show notes below. I'll see you next time for Micronaut Monday.